Week 14 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to drop this week. The first guy, Nolan Jones of the Colorado Rockies. So Jones, he got off to a nice start over the last month and a half, but right now the playing time has gone down with C.J. Cron and Chris Bryant back in the lineup, unfortunately. So now we're missing the last two games in a row being seeded is Jones. He's the odd man out right now over there in Colorado, and he was tearing it up in the minor leagues and even in the majors here in 108 at-bats, 5 home runs, 14 RBIs. 16 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, a .315 average, and a .398 on base. In the last 2 weeks, .303 average, a homer, 2 RBIs, 6 runs scored, and a .395 average. So right now, like I said, he's the odd man out. But we know this Rocky team's one of the worst teams in the league, and they're either going to make a few trades at the MLB trade deadline, or they're going to just start playing the younger guys once they're pretty much officially out of the race. But like I said, they're one of the worst teams in the National League, towards the bottom of the standings. So the last few games here for Jones, June 27th versus the Dodgers in that one. He didn't 0 for 0 with a pinch hit walk. June 28th versus the Dodgers, 1 for 2 a run. June 29th versus the Dodgers, 0 for 4. June 30th versus the Tigers, 2 for 4 with 2 runs. And July 1st and 2nd, he sat out on those ball games. So the last 3 out of 5 games, Jones sat out right now for this Colorado Rocky team. And that's not a good sign at all, obviously. But like I said, I think they're going to make a few deals and be sellers is this Rocky team. And the playing time will be there for Jones because he's done it all in the minor leagues. This year, once again, he was tearing it up down there. And even over here in the majors, I know it was only 108 at-bats, but he was hitting over 300 and showing good power. So right now, I would drop him, but he's definitely a player to keep an eye on because I think he could be back sooner than later playing every day for this Rocky team, especially within the next month with the deadline, August 1st. The next hitter, Royce Lewis of the Minnesota Twins. So another tough break here for Royce Lewis. After coming off the ACL, he was tearing it up in the minor leagues. Then they called him up, and he was putting up good numbers in the 95 at-bat season so far. 4 home runs, 15 RBIs, 11 runs scored, a stolen base, a .326 average, and a .354 on base. And over the last 2 weeks before he went down now with the oblique, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, a stolen base, 5 runs scored, a .395 average, and a .425 on base. So Royce Lewis, we know he's one of the former top prospects in all Major League Baseball a few seasons ago. And right now, just the injuries have been a problem for him, and consistent playing time has been a problem, where for whatever reason the Twins weren't playing him every day until recently. June 27th at Atlanta, 1 for 3. June 28th at the Braves, 0 for 4. June 30th at the Orioles, 3 for 5 a rib. July 1st at Baltimore, 0 for 2. In the last 2 games, obviously, before the injury list, he sat out. So Royce Lewis, he's a great talent, no doubt about it. But the oblique strains, we know, are tricky injuries. And a lot of guys, they miss a month or 2 minimum, it seems like. So if he's out a month, that's going to take you to August already. And if he's out for 2 months, that takes you to September. And I don't think fantasy owners, even though Lewis is a good talent, are going to want to wait around and stash Lewis for 2 months on the injury list. So right now, with the injury, unfortunately, he's a hitter I would drop this week. The next hitter, Lamont Wade Jr. of the San Francisco Giants. So Wade Jr. on paper, he's having a great year, but the playing time isn't consistent. And this San Francisco Giant team, just a lot of platoons on this roster. So on the year here for Wade, 9 home runs, 27 RBIs, 40 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a .279 average, and a great on-base percentage with a .416. Over the last 2 weeks, though, batting average has been good and on base, but he's not really done anything in terms of RBIs or homers. No homers, no RBIs, and 2 runs scored. So Wade, we know, is a streaky player. But if you're not getting consistent reps and playing time each and every day, that's obviously going to be a problem. And right now, I think that's the problem Wade's ran into now over the last few weeks here. June 28th at the Jays, 3 for 4. June 29th at the Jays, 0 for 2. June 30th at the Mets, 0 for 3. July 1st at the Mets, sat out. July 2nd at the Mets, sat out in that one and pinched it 0 for 1. So right now, the playing time's gone down. I know he's not going to play versus lefties at Lamont Wade, and you just can't get a rhythm if you're not playing pretty much every day. So right now, well, he's pretty much the 4th outfield option on the San Francisco team. He's a hitter I would drop this week. Definitely he could get hot again and be a pickup, but Wade's just been hot and cold this season, and right now he's in a cold spell. And a hitter I would drop the next hitter, Seiya Suzuki of the Chicago Cubs. So Suzuki still only 52% of fantasy league, surprising, and his numbers have been way down this season. 6 home runs, 26 RBIs, 25 runs scored, a stolen base, a .246 average, and a 335 on base. And over the last month of the season, he's pretty much done nothing for fantasy owners and been one of the worst hitters in fantasy baseball. No home runs, 7 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 169 average, and a 245 on base in the time here for Suzuki. So fantasy owners, they're holding on to him. I know he was a great talent in Japan, but right now the playing time really hasn't been there, and obviously the stats haven't been there in the production. So right now he's an easy drop this week. June 27th versus Philly, 0 for 3. The 28th, June 29th, and June 30th, he sat at those ball games a little dinged up. July 1st versus the Guardians, 0 for 3. July 2nd versus the Guardians, 0 for 4. And July 3rd at the Brewers, he pinched it in that one, 0 for 1. So right now, playing time gone down. Stats, they have been non-existent. And he's just an easy drop this week here, Suzuki. Hopefully he could turn things around, but right now this season looks like a total bust year here for Suzuki. He was a big-time player, obviously, coming from Japan a couple seasons ago. But this year, he's been a bust, and the fifth and final hit I look to drop this week is Jeff McNeil of the New York Mets. I know McNeil won the batting title last season, but this year, he pretty much hasn't done anything. And McNeil even last season, but he's not going to bring you power. He's not going to really drive in runs. And if he's not hitting for average or getting on base, there's no need for him in fantasy baseball. Right now, owners, they just keep holding on to him as well. Last week, I mentioned him as a drop, and he hasn't done much here as McNeil on the season. 3 home runs, 24 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 34 runs scored, a 258 average, and a 332 on base. And over the last month of the season, just like Suzuki, he's been one of the worst hitters in the league. 1 home run, 7 RBIs, 9 runs scored, a stolen base, a 196 average, and a 267 on base. So that's not going to get the job done for McNeil. No doubt about it, he possibly could break out of his slump, but even if he does, he's pretty much his glorified single hitter. That's only going to help you with batting averages, McNeil. So if he's not getting hits, there's no reason to really hold on to him for fantasy owners. And they're hoping he turns it around. June 28th versus the Brewers, 0 for 2. June 29th versus the Brewers, 1 for 4. June 30th versus the Giants, 2 for 4. July 1st versus the Giants, 0 for 3. And July 2nd versus the Giants in that one, 2 for 5. So the only decent thing here is McNeil. He actually had 4 hits in that 3-game set versus the Giants, so maybe he could get things going. But even if it does, like I said, he's been a singles hitter, and that's his only production, his batting average, if that. But this year, he's not going to hit probably over 300. So that's a few hitters I look to drop here in Week 14 of the fantasy baseball season.